Disclaimer.
The thoughts and opinions expressed by our guests are not necessarily the views of Tash, Becky, or Be Your Best You podcast.
Hey there, lovely people. Welcome to Be Your Best You with Tash and Becky, your go-to hangout for all things spiritual, subconscious, and downright magical. We're here to sprinkle a little mystical wisdom into your everyday life and help you level up your reality.
Picture this as your cosmic coffee date, where we chat about the unseen world, blend in some psychology vibes, and stir up the subconscious magic. Get ready to be the queen of your own reality, live a life that lights you up, and have a blast doing it.
So grab your latte or your tea and let's dive into another episode of Be Your Best You, where the mystical meets the mundane and your best life awaits.
Cheers to creating magic together.
Let's do this.
Psst. Hey guys, can we ask you a favour?
Can we ask, if you haven't already, please make sure that you're following us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts so you can get updated with all the latest episodes every week when they come out. You never know, it might just be the thing that you need to hear at that time. Also, don't forget you can watch us on YouTube, so make sure you head over there and subscribe to us there.
And share with all your friends.
Thanks, guys. Hi, welcome back to another episode of Be Your Best You with Tash.
And Becky, the guest edition. Today we're super duper excited because we've got Amie Balesky on the show.
Amie is America's top psychic medium.
Oh my goodness.
She's on our show.
She's on our show.
Amie's awesome. Amie's awesome.
She's amazing.
Came across her and the first time I saw her, I was like, I need to have her on the show.
She's just got to do it. And guess what? She did.
But you're going to want to listen to this episode because Amie makes mediumship, talking to dead people, us being spirits, sound like, well, duh.
Yeah, exactly.
She makes it so simple, so easy to understand. It's just like, you can't not understand it.
We
just
should
makes
all be
sense.
doing it.
Yeah. She gives you some really helpful tips if you want to know how to connect with your loved one who has passed over. We touch on suicide and what happens to souls when they do that, where they go, where different souls go to different places. Oh my gosh, there's so much. We could just carry on talking, but it's just such a great conversation. And what I really hope you get from it is, one, that you just can walk away going, okay, my loved ones are still there and I'm still going to be there when I eventually die as well. Crossover, whatever you want to call it. And they're with you all the time. And you can communicate with them, and they are always communicating with you and helping you out and making things happen in your life to help you out, whether you can communicate with them and whether you know it at all. There's so much more we could say, but we'll just let you go into the podcast. Enjoy, guys.
What's this?
Enjoy, guys. Hi, welcome back to another episode of Be Your Best You with Tash
and Becky, the guest edition.
And today we have on the show the awesome Amie. Amie, welcome.
Hi, Amie.
Hi. Hello, how are you?
We are very good, thank you. We are now recording. We were just chatting away. We're like, you've got to stop. We're not recording yet. We are now, so we can get into it. Amie, we're so excited to chat with you. Thank you so much for coming on. Before we get into all the stuff we're going to talk about, we have no idea what we're going to talk about, but we know it's going to be juicy. Could you just introduce yourself to our audience, who you are, what you do?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Amy Bolesky. I live in Texas, or East Texas. Probably won't know the city at all, but I'm from Houston originally. And I am, as of right now, America's top psychic medium as far as ratings and everything goes, which is really, really cool. So I've been doing it for a really long time, and I want to teach people that there's not an end and that we do exist and that you don't actually lose anybody. They're there, and how to talk with them. That's it.
That's amazing. Love that.
That's what we like to hear.
It is what we love to hear. So we know there's kind of a we always say, like, there's always things that have happened in people's lives that have got them to kind of this place where they are now, to realize this stuff. So if you'd be happy to, could you just share a little bit about your backstory that's got you to kind of where you are now and doing what you're doing and being America's top psychic medium?
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, no, so I had cancer when I was 5, and so I lost my kidney and part of my intestines and part of my liver, but by the time they found it, it was stage 3 going into stage 4, and so then when they went and they were taking it out, the tumor was the size of a basketball in a 5-year-old, and so it was so vascular that I ended up bleeding out on the table, and so they were able to bring me back, obviously give me units of blood. I don't remember that because I was in surgery at that point, but I remember waking up, and when I finally came home, I think it was like a month and a half later, um, I started experiencing, I guess, weird things. And my mom was just like, all right, that's interesting. And I remember I talked about this on, I think, Sean, Mike, and Kelly's podcast. But I remember the first time I really thought that something was a little bit off or different was we were in a grocery store and my sister was sitting on the top part of the buggy or the cart. And I was sitting on the bottom part of the cart. And I think I was like 6 or 5. It was right after, because I sailed my bald head, and we're going down this aisle and there's a woman looking at coffee. My mom's looking at noodles on the left-hand side, and this woman is picking up coffee and looking at it. And I remember staring at her and I was like, she's going to pick that one, the second to the bottom. And there was no reason for it. And as I watch her, she goes and she picks it and then puts it in her cart. And then I remember turning around as my mom's turning around, and I was like, do you know what people are going to do? Or like, do you hear somebody's thoughts? But it was a feeling. Now that I know what it is, it's not hearing anybody's thoughts. It's the feeling that is then translated into words in your brain and a knowing. Anyways, that's a whole nother thing.
Mm-hmm.
And me and her sister, or my sister and mom, were just like, no. And I was like, okay, and we just like kept going. And then at that point, I continued on my merry way, had some just other little interesting experiences, like seeing hooded figures, but like in the house, which is weird. I would just sense things like when somebody was going to pass. And then when I was 15 going into 16, I had bacterial meningitis that I got from my violin teacher, and I had it for like a month, didn't know it. And I essentially ended up going septic. They were able to bring me to the hospital, but I ended up having my second near-death experience because I started coding again from that there, because we had waited far too long. Like by the time they took me there, it was terrible. I ended up staying in the hospital for a couple weeks, made it out from that. And then from there, I started channeling people more in high school. And it just so happens to be that I went to a very gangster high school. So there were a lot of murders and shootings and stabbings and just all the great things. So I had a lot of people to practice on. So that was good, including teachers. And then I guess also growing up I grew up in a really nice area, but because I was in orchestra and I did music my entire life since I was 5, that's how the whole vibration theory comes into play. We'll talk about that later, still looping it back in. But from there, I ended up going to a really, really, really ghetto school, which now down the line really helps when I channel, because through those experiences, they can pick those things out of my brain. I'm like, oh, did your son get stabbed and then left on, his couch, and they covered his face? And they're like, yes. And it's because I had a friend that had that happen and he died there. But anyways, that's another thing as well. And then from there, I had my third near-death experience, but that wasn't until I was 25. And due to my connective tissue disorder that I have a thing called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and then it comes with a fun thing called Chiari malformation. Essentially, your brain gets sucked down through your head hole and into your spine, and it crushes your brainstem, and it causes you not to be able to use your autonomic nervous system. So like not be able to pee on your own, or like breathe on your own, or walk on your own, or like use your legs. So I ended up getting surgery for that after being in a wheelchair for a year. And then learned how to walk again. But from that surgery, essentially I got a MRSA staph infection in my spinal fluid, and the incision opened up at home. And so I woke up in a pool of my own spinal fluid while I was healing, like 4 weeks later after the surgery, and they rushed me to the emergency room, and I died in the ER. And as I was dying in the ER, I floated above my body, and I looked down, and everything got very quiet, and the only thing that I could hear was my voice. But obviously I didn't have a body to make it. It was just my mind. And then I said, all I want to do is tell my mom I love her. And as soon as I thought about that, I was right next to her, but over her, staring down at a book. But it clearly was me, but there was no body. There was no presence of body. It was just a mind. That's all I can experience. And then after that, 2 weeks later, I woke up out of a coma. which was cool. And so then that made it go even crazier. So then I just started channeling for everybody. I divorced my ex-husband, and yeah, I had my fourth near-death experience when I was 29, and my kidney failed because I only have one because of my cancer. And I didn't realize that I had a bladder infection for a long time. It ended up going into my kidney, shutting it down. I passed out at work. They took me in. They couldn't bring me back. And then essentially coded when I was there in the hospital. They were able to bring a stent in and do a washout. And then I came back from that. And then now we're here, and now we're just on crack essentially with it. That's it. That's the story in a nutshell. There's a lot more in between, but yeah.
Wow.
We've never had a backstory like that. That's insane. One
Yeah.
question, like all that kept like flashing into my mind when you were talking is, I know that you probably don't have a definitive answer for this, but do you know the reason, or do you have an idea of the reason of why you've had so many near-death experiences in your life? Do you think there's a purpose for that?
So I can do this.
Do you think that's what it is? Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1,000%. I also am like one of the head people for my disease, my illness, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, because so many times when I was sick, I would get gaslit by doctors and they would tell me everything was fine, like the brain thing. I actually went in after the surgery because I couldn't see. I was projectile vomiting. I had a crazy fever. I went into an emergency room, and a big hospital, but they essentially told me that they couldn't help me, that things were fine because I just had brain surgery, and that my fever was normal and that I should go home and take Tylenol. And then a week and a half later, I was septic at that point, but they didn't know what to do. And so if they would have accepted it, I wouldn't have ever had it. And so now I go through and I help people with chronic illness not be gaslit by doctors. And yeah, that's
You're a big girl.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And a very tough cookie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay, so every time you had a near-death experience, your kind of like psychic abilities got stronger or developed more?
Well, it just became more intense. So like when I came out of the third one, and I also think that because I was older at that point, right? I was like 25 going to 26. So I had more awareness of myself and blah, blah, blah. But when I came out of that one, I thought, so when I was in the hospital afterwards for those next 2 months, they had me in a unit where there was a window, but the window faced a brick wall that was in an alley that was covered by a ceiling. So I was in a room with no light, which is perfectly fine, and I was just in there. And when I got out of that hospital, and mind you, they had me on a lot of things afterwards to like make the brain swelling go down. But when I got out of the hospital, my entire life, it felt like it was in Technicolor. Like the grass was so fucking green, and like you could feel everything. The only way I can describe it is like when people say they take DMT or when they say they take mushrooms. And I let me tell you, I've tried mushrooms and they don't get me like that. So I've always surpassed that at that point. But it was wild. Like there was compassion for everything and everyone. And then I remember on the way out of the hospital, we in Texas, because they have such high security in their hospitals, you go through and a security guard will open the door, and then you go through the next door and they will open the door through like a press or whatever it is. And I remember just going through, and my mom was pushing me out through one of these sets of doors, and there was this African-American security guard. It was a gentleman, and he was like, "Are you ready to go home?" Because I had all these patches and stuff in my head. And I was like, "Yeah." And as we're sitting there waiting for him to, secure the door to open it up, I look at him and I was like, "There's two women around you." And I was like, "It's like a mom and a grandmother. They're wearing really big hats. I don't understand what that is." And he looks at me a little freaked out. And his parents, his mom was from Ghana, and so was his grandmother. He had been in the US for forever. And it was Sunday, it was the day that I was getting out, and every single Sunday they would dress in their really big hats to go to church, and it was a huge thing, and he had recently gotten all of them, and he was like, "That's really weird. That's freaking me out. What?" And then I kept going, and my mom was like, interesting. But yeah, it started off like right off the bat.
Wow. So when you see, okay, let's just dive into kind of, like you said, there's people, loved ones around us all the time, right? They're here. We just not all of us can see them. How do you see them? Do you see them with your eyes? Like, are they there, or is it in your mind's eye? How do you experience it?
Okay, so let's go back and break down the whole they're there the entire time. So
Hmm.
the way that it's been explained, or the way that I can fathom it, I guess, is I want you to think of your reality, what you can see, which is 360, right? So this is the ball of your awareness where your eyes can look. It's only round, it's 360. And so, but you've never ceased being a spirit. So you're in your body and you're looking through the lens of your eyeballs, experiencing this physical reality because our senses are made for this, right? And so our physical reality, this ball, exists within this larger matrix of the unseen, but we're also still in it at the same time. So your loved ones, they're not in this reality. They're outside of it, but they pop in through your subconscious and through your mind to let you know that they're there because you're still existing in both at the same time. So they never actually ever go away. It's just, can you build that connection, which is energy and vibration or a channel, in order to help them move in and come in and reach through this matrix, for lack of better words? And so sometimes, obviously, the thing with like quantum physics, it's interesting that they found out, not recently, but like 10 or 15 years ago, is that everything that exists outside of your viewpoint doesn't exist. So like right now, technically, my husband doesn't exist. Right? I just believe that he's there so much, and I rely that he's there so much, so then he just kind of like manifests himself again. Like that's just what happens. And so therefore, when people are like, "Oh my God, did my loved one show me signs?" Yes, stop it with the fucking butterflies. Like there are butterflies everywhere. Like there's so much fucking more than that. But with that being said, that's how they put in these extraordinary signs, or maybe they change a color, or maybe they pick something up and move it. It's because it didn't actually exist until you got there. So therefore, magical things can happen from behind the scenes, which are actually not. So therefore, it's constantly, regurgitating itself over again. But anyways, with seeing, so like, let's say I started tapping in like with a client, right? So sometimes I would have to say 60% of the time it comes across as a feeling. So everything is like a feeling or like music or vibration for me. There's an image, and if somebody's more in like the middle, meaning they have a lot more stress, or they, haven't got to say goodbye, or maybe they took their own life, or maybe they died in a motorcycle accident, they're going to feel more physical to me than somebody that, let's say, passed peacefully, everybody was there, they're a higher vibrational state. And so people, like, let's say I had 2 days ago, I had a session with a woman that her son committed suicide and then her husband committed suicide. So it was interesting because the son, you could feel him in the room. It's almost like if you feel your space right now, it feels blank. But when a spirit shows up in their middle, now you can feel that something else is taking up that space. That's the only way I can describe it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so he was in there, and he starts connecting. He talks about why he did it, which he has no idea. He just kept talking about how the world just felt too heavy. And it turns out later on, we find out, or she found out, that he was really, really, really upset about politics, but he was 17. He had no idea. Like, he can't even, like, that was his whole thing. And he just thought the world was going to end and the economy was, and he didn't have a chance going to college or anything like that. And so he went out hunting with his dad, took the shotgun, put it in his mouth, and blew his head off when he was out hunting, doing deer. And so when I was talking to him as we're channeling, he's raising up, and it's the innocence behind it, the fact that he didn't understand. There wasn't pure intention. There wasn't time for him to dwell on it for months and years and tell everybody else to go fuck themselves. But then I get to the husband. He's a different story. He feels like he's walking around in my room, so I can kind of almost like sense the feeling of a man, and the feeling of a man feels different than the feeling of a woman, feels different than the feeling of a child, blah, blah, blah. But then as I start talking to him, a lot of times, especially if it's like your partner, they'll show up kind of sitting next to you or where their favorite space is, or maybe where their remains are in the room or something like that. You can kind of feel, and they'll give you these pictures of what it looks like, and they'll reflect it on your own reality. But he kept showing me an image of walking from a garage to the bedroom, a garage to the bedroom. But then he kept showing me this house being empty. So I look at my client. I said, "Did you end up moving out of the house where he did this at?" And she's like, "Yeah." She goes, "A month ago." I go, "Interesting." I said, "Did he die in the garage or the bedroom?" I said, "He keeps showing me this line of walking back and forth." She says, "Me and him were in the bedroom. He walked out to the garage. And then right after he sent me the goodbye text, I was in the bedroom and I walked out to the garage." So essentially he's showing me that that was his last route. And then as we're channeling, he goes through the whole thing on how he hung himself from the rafters, and his wife comes in and he's gargling and she can't get him down because he used a toe tie. Anyways, just I'm working on that edit today. It's a very intense session, but that was a very physical scenario in my brain. Like the way he made me feel is like I'm in his body and I'm watching this, which is really intense. And but yeah, he made me feel all the depression. But yet him at the same time, he's more middle and he's not moving up, because what he did was he essentially fucked off his family, including his wife, for selfish reasons, because at the end of the day, it still is. I mean, duh. Because you're not God. God is, I mean, you technically are, but exists within you, and we're here for this experience. We need to be grateful for it. Like, that's a whole nother thing, and things can always change. They can always change. And so now he's going to be a little bit more middle. That's not a bad thing. That's like a guide, because that way they can interact with our reality and theirs at the same time. When you're higher, they don't come in as much. They more oversee. And so he's going to be middle. He's going to be helping out his wife and his other 3 kids that he left behind until the day that they cross. And then at that point, they ascend or move up together because his job is done. There you go.
Oh, that's lovely,
Yeah,
isn't it?
I do. I love that. So, and is that like, is that what you see a lot with these middle souls, or whatever you want to call them? Is that what you see? That's their kind of job. That's how they wait until who they affected crossover. Right. Okay. And so for them, like, say for that guy, for instance, is his existence like? What is it? Is he suffering? It's because I know a lot of people like. No, he's like he's good there. He's like
yeah. Okay, so like right now, are we suffering? We're not in the feeling of like complete love and bliss right now. Are we suffering right now?
No. Yeah.
We're fine.
Yeah.
That's the same thing. We're getting what we need to do done. That's it. That's the exact same way. I think it's when people go through, or like mediums or whoever the fuck it is, I don't know who it is. I stay in my own little lane, but they go through, and for somehow when somebody speaks of like these different levels, that they put it in terms of like good, bad, terrible, stuck, not going anywhere, can't find the light. God, source, is everything. It is the good, it is the bad that exists in the duality, but within this whole duality, it is for learning and understanding yourself in the shadow and the light. That's all it is. So even the bad people, yes, they may be in a lower vibrational state, which is like the absence of light and cold and love and all that stuff. But even then, they themselves can go into their psyche or their mind or whatever it be, or mirror themselves onto the living, so that way they can find their light and move up. It's all learning. Just like here, it's learning. And if you decide to fuck it off, and essentially in that way, you're not done. You're not going to get a gold star. And so therefore now you are learning how to be selfless from the other side, because here you were being selfish.
Yeah.
It's learning. It's love.
Yeah.
That's it.
And that's like what we're that as a soul, or whatever you want to call us. That's the deal, right? Isn't it? Like we just want to learn. We're constantly trying to learn and grow and expand.
Yeah.
And it's just we've chosen to do it in this like denser dimension at the moment. But then you move on and you're still doing the same thing, but like from a different frequency.
Yeah. And I mean, remember too, when we talk about learning, everybody thinks that it's some big giant cosmic lesson. Like, today I went on and I looked at my phone and I learned how to make biscuits that you stuff with butter first. Like, was that a terrible thing? No, there's lessons in life that you learn, or like in out reality, that are not heavy and dark and terrible. Like, I learned how to make biscuits. That's an experience. There you go.
Yeah. with
you know?
with good butter.
With good butter, absolutely. Yes, 1,000% with good butter. Yes.
Okay, sorry. Do you have any questions? I keep asking loads of questions.
No, I just love. I think a lot of people know someone who's committed suicide, don't they? And that's just such
Yeah.
that's such a comforting explanation of where they
Mhm.
actually are, because you do worry and wonder and have all these questions, and that's just
Yeah.
that's such
Yeah, they're here. And if,
yeah
like, you live in the house where your loved one did this at, they are
yeah
in that house with you. And a lot of times, remember, because when they took their life, they were
Mm,
not exhibiting their light. They said,
mm,
I feel like I have lost my light, and so therefore I'm going to snuff out the little bit that I have left.
mm,
That's what it said. That's what it was.
yeah
That's what it said. And then you go over to the other side and your mind essentially goes, holy fuck, I could have made all these different choices.
mm,
I could have done this. This could have been different. Oh my God, my mom, my wife, my kid,
mm,
my husband, my uncle, whoever, my dog. Wow.
yeah
And then you're like, oh
mm,
my God, I gotta fix this. Okay, all right. Through
mm,
helping, then I'm gonna find my light because it's here and it's good and it exists. And then
mm,
stuff happens, like, maybe the gentleman was in the military and he took his own life, and maybe the baby's mama tried to sign over it was $150,000 to her, but she essentially was like a craphead in the middle of the situation. And then somehow, the mother gets a letter saying it's transferred over to her because, some guy in the court of appeals picked it up and said, no, it's not supposed to be. Like, that's all a by chance thing. But that happens because the son made that happen. And then from there we go, oh, well, that's a great thing. No, that's a minor miracle because they're making it happen from behind the scenes for the higher good to help them out and help the people out that they screwed off the most.
yeah. And
Yes.
it makes so much sense as
yeah.
well, doesn't it? That they don't just go into how some
Mm-mm.
people like to say that they just go to hell. I mean, that just makes so much sense, and that they're still part of your world and working with you. And then the fact that they go on when everybody's crossed over, that they've tried to help, that they then move. I love that. It's so
Yeah.
thank you, Amy. I love
Yeah,
it.
you're welcome. No, it's super easy. And when there's people that talk about, oh my God, it only exists, love only exists. Well, yes, it does, but within love there's also lessons and learning and teaching and all of that. And I think people are so fast to make things bad or good, when in actuality, at the end of the day, nothing is bad or good, it just is. But that's all relative to your own personal experience, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting. I do a lot of deep thinking, by the way.
Oh my God, no, we do as well. It's really like nice to have someone like you can like go, right, well, these are the things that we're thinking, and then you're just kind of saying
You're confirming
it.
confirming it.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. I love that. And I
Yeah.
hope that does that for other people. And then so then I was thinking, like, so then if you flip that on the other side, you've got, so we just like look at it from the guy, from the perspective of the guy who committed suicide. But then, like you said, so he's in this place where he's trying to remember his light, rectify the things that he did. So for then the person who's living in this plane now, this dimension, say his wife, if someone's sitting here listening to this now, whether or not someone's committed suicide or they've just lost someone, from then the perspective of us sat here, how can we start paying attention to what they're doing, or kind of communicating with them, or be open to them communicating with us in a way where, like, it's not just, oh, there's a butterfly, there's a feather,
Okay. So with that being said, so remember, and we'll go through and break this down. So I talk about how everything is vibration, everything is energy, everything is frequency. And if you, like, I always use this analogy, if you take your hand and you look at it and you realize what it is, it's protons, neutrons, electrons, and quibs, which is just energy. It's buzzing around in empty space. So everything, remember too, in this reality is either in a state of building or in a state of decay. So everything is moving and shifting constantly, right? So when you go through and you connect with your loved one, depending on what vibration, level, frequency, I have very limited words to describe what this is, so you'll hear me repeating them over and over again, and that gets annoying for me, but because I want to know more, but I haven't figured it out yet. But that's where it goes. But with that, you yourself, you're musical. Like you're fucking music. Like that's what you are. Everything is humming. Like your eyeball has a certain hum to it. Your body has a certain beat to it. Like our heart is beating. How cool is that? Music, if you go and you take it in, it soaks into you and it changes your vibration. It can change how you look. It can change how you think. It can change everything. That's why music and words are so powerful. But anyways, going back to that. So essentially, whatever your base is, your base vibration feeling, we always at first need to try to get to the middle. And what do I mean? So we're not in the state of sadness. We're not in the state of fear. We're not in the state of dread or anger. I kind of want you to find just this it's neutral. It's neither bad nor good. It just is. So as soon as you find that, then you have to learn how to shut off your animal brain. And your animal brain is constantly reaching for what is, what was, what is. So anxiety, depression, anxiety, depression, anxiety, depression. And it's trying to keep you safe. That's all it's trying to do. And then also entertain you at the same time. So you have to learn how to tell that to shut up. Tell it to shut up and sit in this middle. And most people are not comfortable with sitting in this still. They think something is wrong because they're so used to being stimulated the whole fucking time, right? And so once you find that middle, or sorry, this is a long explanation, so that way people can try it, then what you do, you sit here in the quiet, and then you ask with intention and feeling for your loved one to come in. By you asking, that is allowing, that is saying, I want to connect. But instead of just being like, okay, Bobby, I want you to come in, I want you to ask with feeling of like, Bobby, I want you to come in, please. But bring that feeling. And so that literally, that feeling is the connection. And then from there, if you want to start off, now, if your loved one, let's say they committed suicide, or let's say they did that, if they're still really in a place of learning, like there are sometimes there's souls or people that I talk to, because they're still people, maybe they blew their head off. It usually goes along with like drug addicts as well. Maybe they went through and they went into a bathroom and they were living at their mom's house and they shot up heroin and it caused them to die right there on the bathroom floor, and their mom and their daughter found them, right? Sometimes they will be really, really sad. So you got to work through that first. That's directly linked to my client or the family, because maybe they're in this deep seed of grief. So therefore, you're constantly connected between here and there. So therefore, you are both feeling this weight, okay, at the same time. So if the living starts working on that and letting it go, not saying that we're forgetting it, but letting it go so that you can live and connect better, then your loved one also experiences that. And then you start to raise up a little bit. Sometimes when you get into this middle area of feeling, sometimes even though you feel neutral, when you start asking for them to come in, you'll randomly get mad, or and it's just slight, or randomly get really sad. And if your loved one did that, it's because they're showing up and they are putting their feelings or their energy or their soul, and they are touching you or getting in your brain, and you are feeling part of what they are feeling. So a lot of people at that point, they go, oh, that's bad, or that's scary. Right? So it's fear. No, stop it. That's literally your son. Like, what are you doing? That's your son. Stop. Okay. That's what I want you to think of. Like, if he came up and told you that his girlfriend, broke up with him, would you be like, oh my God, that's so terrifying, right? Sadness. Like, you can't do that. You sit with it. And then from there, you say, what do you want? Or you sit there and you say, I'm sorry for failing you, even though you didn't fail them. You have to let that go. You have to let it all out. And then as you go through and you start healing that within you, you may get a lot of goosebumps at that point. You may start to get flashes and images and pictures at that point. But you just sit in the quiet. You do it for like 5 or 6 minutes every single day, and then gradually be sitting there for an hour, and then you'll lose track of time, and then you won't sleep or eat or pee, and then you'll end up like me. There you go. Done. So that's over like the years. But the signs and symbols thing, longer explanation. As you start going through and doing that, you cannot have fear. Anytime that you want to connect with anything, my most annoying fucking thing I've seen this week. And I try so hard not to do rants. I try so hard because I realize that everybody's on a different level and it's perfectly fine. But there's just so much crap out there that is just fluff. Like, let's stick it in some stick up our butt. That's going to make us more spiritual. Sorry. It doesn't make any sense. But somebody I saw earlier, they go, okay, we're going to call in our guides and our angels for protection. You already fucked up there. Because you believe that you need to be protected, you believe that you must live in fear. Therefore, you don't need to channel, because if you believe that you need to be protected, you are inviting in an energy that will cause you to feel like you need protection.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
That's
So
true.
when you go in there, you need to go neutrally, realize that everything's okay. They're not out to get you. Nothing's out to get you, actually. And it's just like, if you were one of these really preppy girls and you go into a party and everybody's like emo and angry, do you think any of them would talk to you? No, they'd be like, wow, look at that loser. We're going to go over here and be emo and angry. And the preppy girl's like, I don't know why they don't want to talk to me. That's the same thing with spirit, right? So if you're in there and you're being, the preppy girl in like a negative room, they're going to be like, whoa, you're weird. And like go away. So like it's like attracts like. So then from there, you will start, getting feelings. And then throughout your day, you may see more things. You may get like random little signs. It could be your loved one's name as you're driving, I don't know, through the countryside or through the city, and you look at a license plate and it's their initials behind you. It could be that as you're at the grocery store and you're checking out, maybe your son's name is Robert, and you're checking out and there's a guy behind you and his wife goes, Robert, go get the bread. Go. And you're just like, that was the sign. So like all these different things. So yeah. That's what happens.
Yeah. Thank you for that. That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
You're
Because,
welcome.
yeah, that's just really helpful, isn't it? And I think like a really important thing for people is to get in touch with their bodies and understand the feelings, isn't it? Because it's a messenger, and we're so up here most of the time. And like you said, we're constantly like so noisy. When you actually sit for a second in your body, you realize there's actually a lot going on in there.
Yeah, your body is an amazing instrument. It is literally an instrument. It tells hot and cool. Think about just the what eating is. You are literally getting food, which is energy and vibration. You are putting it into your body, and your body is turning it into jet fuel.
Yeah.
Like, think about that. Isn't that amazing? That's also why before I go through and I have sessions, I can't eat. I usually don't eat. I don't usually eat till like 9 o'clock at night, but I try not to eat during the day, because what will end up happening is when I go in to do sessions, then I'm focused on the feeling of my stomach processing food, and you can feel the no matter how slight it is. And so therefore I'll be more focused on this than actually feeling.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Sorry.
I didn't ask 1,000 questions.
No, don't.
No.
This is awesome.
Mm.
So with everything you've kind of like and I know you've dived into a lot, haven't you? Because like you were saying, you've kind of done a course on quantum physics and stuff. You clearly like you're so curious. Like you can tell.
I am. I'm very curious.
The knowledge, all of it. I love this.
Mhm.
So with everything you've kind of learnt from spirit and talking to, these souls that aren't on this dimension and stuff, like what have you learned that's helped you live your life differently from that? That makes sense.
From what, middle vibration, or just like how channeling has made me live different?
Well, like all of it really, like just what from what you know and from what you've learned, you obviously see the world in a much deeper way. You've experienced the world in a much deeper way than a lot of people have. Like what have you been able to take from that and kind of like implement for yourself, like in terms of your journey here, like growing, living, just being here?
Absolutely. Well, number one, don't get on a motorcycle. Number two, planes are terrifying. Number three, I don't think y'all really have ATVs a whole lot over there, but they're like the vehicles that you ride out in the country. Anyways, we have one for our cattles, but people go and they ride in those all the time, and they do little jumps or turns, and a 2,000-pound vehicle falls on you and crushes you on your chest. And then all the men or the women, they're like, oh no, but my kid can drive great. I'm like, but the Mack truck that slams into them because they didn't look the other way, that's where you go wrong. So that would be my probably my number one learning thing, is I've learned how to be a better, more watchful parent for my kid. And then I also can explain as to why, especially with like the fentanyl epidemic and all that stuff. I've also seen how, I guess, because people are which is normal. They're in their own little pod. They're in their own little world, and they only really see like the next ring out. I'm kind of at like ring 10 right now. I've been able to like visualize and see how terrible and destructive alcohol is, and why do we still have it? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
it's the most widely used Class A carcinogen substance in the entire world
Yeah.
next to sugar, but yet we
Yeah.
still shove it down everybody's throat, and we accept it as normal. And yet that's where
Mm.
most of my suicides, people are drunk.
Mm.
Most of my car wrecks, either the person is drunk or the person that hits them is drunk. You know, most of my murder or double homicide cases or murder suicide cases, there's alcohol involved. But yet at the same time, we keep it on the shelves. So that would be one.
Yeah.
So I don't drink or anything like that. And then, you know, how to really not take things for granted and realizing that every moment you have to live it fully because you don't get it back. And even within the moments where you're sitting there quiet, it's an amazing experience. I know it sounds weird, but when you're sitting in a hospital bed and you can't move and you have a tube in your butthole and you have a tube in your spine and you can only use your eyes, and then you start channeling, and then you start feeling, and then you get out into this, you realize that just everything is fucking amazing. I just want to let you know. That's it. So that's kind of where I've learned from that. And then also I don't have a fear of dying at all.
Yeah.
Uh, I wouldn't necessarily be excited to be, you know, wrecked in a car wreck and stuck there for an hour while you slowly die. But I also know from channeling people that yes, there may be pain, but then at the same time, your body or source does something amazing where you don't feel it. And you just, or even in like a really fast car wreck, a lot of times you'll get pulled out of your body right before impact. So you don't experience it. So then I'm like, hmm, you know, I also have, you know, how they're doing the doctor assisted suicide, or like I don't know what they call it over there. I have like interesting theories on that. I've read probably probably about 60 people now, and half of them are in the middle. No, 20% are in the middle, and then the rest of them are in heaven or a higher vibrational state. And the only difference in that is that somebody decided, and usually these are in other countries, but they decided that their life was not worth pursuing when they had a lot of time left. Let's say like 2, 3, 4 years, especially in the mental health area right now. There's a lot of countries that are like, oh, well, if you feel sad, you know, we'll go ahead. And if you felt sad for at least a year, we'll go ahead and do this. Well, when they come out, they're like, you know, why did I do that? I could have changed. There were these other therapies involved, blah, blah, blah. And so therefore now they're helping their family. But I don't know. That's a whole nother rant.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you said so I know we spoke about the middle, and then
Yeah.
you just said there, you said like the higher realms or heaven. So can you speak to souls that are there as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
And what's that like?
Okay, yeah. So there is sometimes, if you ever go and see any of my stuff, especially my longer stuff, and I always feel really okay. Back it up. So when I go through and I channel, I like to go back and I like to watch my sessions, because there are some times where I feel like I'm not getting the information quick enough. Like I'll sit there and I'll be like, my God, come on, hurry up. And I go back and I listen, and it is within 1 second that I get the information. And I call that, or from the people I talk to, like J.K. Ultra, which is a big quantum physics professor over here in the US. She's like, oh, this is what you call compressed time. Because when you're taking your mind and you're putting into a different version of reality, time doesn't exist. It stops. So therefore you believe that, I mean, it feels like to me that I'm taking 10 minutes and I'm like, oh my God, come on. But I get back and I rewatch it and I'm like, okay, interesting. The other thing is, when you're channeling spirits that are in a higher vibrational state, I have to be exceedingly happy on the inside to talk to them, because what you do is you raise your feelings up. So you get light, airy, and happy, and you almost feel this like opening up feeling, and then they come down a little bit, because we can't I mean, we can create our version of heaven, but we can't get that high all the time. And so it's kind of like this little co-op that like kind of comes together. And especially when I go through and I channel babies or small children, I'll just sit there and they're like pop in your body, because that's what they do. They do hop in your body and they play with your brain and they use like a computer. That's all it is. And they're making me feel their energy, and I'm like, and I'm just sitting there and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm feeling your daughter right now. Hold on. Like, she just feels so good. It is the best high in the entire world. It is like, everything that you want it to be. And then what they do is when you're channeling, the energy is coming from your client or the person, the energy is coming from the spirit, but you yourself, you're kind of like this medium or the middle that is the cistern that is kind of helping, pump it out from both ends. So then what ends up happening is that as you're channeling, the feelings of the room are really, really important to channeling a spirit. So, like when a loved one is in heaven or a higher vibrational state, I always like to bring them in, and then I ask them, like if maybe they say, "Oh, I want to channel Tammy," right? So I start feeling, feeling, feeling. The name Tammy only goes with you. Like that's your doorbell for that spirit. You only know this Tammy in your life. When you start calling this name or this frequency, you will get Tammy. Okay. And so, anyways, I start coming in and asking with like what the relationship is, all that stuff. And then from there, the client's like, well, can you tell me how they died? In the very beginning, because we're just kind of cultivating this, if I started talking about death in the ending, what's going to happen is it's going to plummet, okay? Because the client's going to get really sad. Therefore, I'm going to have to manage more. So therefore, I usually start off with like, where does this person live? How many rooms are in their house? What did your house look like? How many kids did you have? Did you have kids? What did your dog look like? Is there anybody else over there? What did they have for dinner last night? Are they making dinner tonight? Are they ordering out? Just all these different things. And so what it ends up doing is it ends up creating this like light, airy, fluffy, fun thing. And it's cool. It's fucking cool when I'm like, oh, did you have Taco Bell and a gordita today for lunch? And they're like, yeah, right? So that kind of like lightens the room as well. And then from there, what they'll do is when I go, okay, so how did you end up crossing or what happened? And they'll go into that and it'll dip, but it won't dip enough to where it nixes the connection. And so your client will get really sad. She'll feel this lower, and then they'll bring up something just fucking funny right after that. So it like shoots it back up again. So I always like to say when you're going through and you're channeling, you're creating this wave.
Yeah.
And you're trying to keep it within a certain frequency so that way you can stay on point with the connection. There you go.
Wow. That's like that's so I love how you
Yeah.
explain it like in a scientific way. That just makes sense, but also it shows what like a skill
It
it
is.
is.
Yeah.
How to do
Challenging
that.
everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so if you like, let's say I'm going through and I had a session with a mommy. No, sorry. Yes, it was a mommy. It was on, what are we on today? Thursday. So it was Tuesday. And her husband had committed suicide. Her son had passed at 16 in a car accident. So when I first get in to the appointment, because I'm just getting in, I'm a little bit more middle, I'm just neutral. Who am I going to pick up on first? The husband, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm
Yeah.
matching that frequency.
Yeah.
So he's coming in. We get through about 35 minutes of the hour appointment. And I'm like, let's go ahead and feel where your son is. Now, over here in the US, we have a lot of people that are committing suicide. Also over there at the same time, there's just this like grief, depression, whatever it may be. And so I automatically start feeling for that first. As I start putting, the best way I can describe it is like echolocation. You're putting something out, you're like, hello, and you're waiting for somebody to come back. Boom, 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 boom. And I put hello out and I don't get anything. And so therefore now I know that he didn't do that. So now I have to work on me moving myself up. And so as I start getting happier, I still have the spirit of the man that they were married for 20 years. He wants to talk, he wants to be there. So there's this feeling of like, no, come back here. Meow. But they're still on the same level. So you're channeling, you're telling them to let go for a second. It's okay, I'll be back. You're trying to find this higher vibrational energy, and you're doing this all in like a quarter of a second. And there's this feeling that goes with it. I end up finding him. I said, why does he keep talking about being blind? And she was like, well, he had just gotten brand new glasses. Essentially, they just called him that he was clinically blind about 2 weeks before he died. And I'm like, oh, and she says, and the reason why he crashed is because he didn't have his glasses. So he didn't see. So like, that's literally the reason why he died. So that's why that was it. But we brought him in. He was great. He was fine. But as I'm channeling him, I can feel the pull, which is really hard sometimes. And so essentially channeled him, said, thank you, I appreciate you, I love you. And then I kind of went back down and I finished up like the last 2 minutes with the husband. Yeah.
Wow. And you must be exhausted after each session that you do. Like,
Absolutely.
yeah. How do you
Yeah.
recover from that? Is there
I
anything you do?
realized, no. I have a lot of caffeine. And
I
then
knew that.
yes, yeah, I have a lot. This is like 3 bags of chai black tea in here with a little bit of sugar and a little bit of milk. Do you know I have a whole Reddit post about what is in my cup? People think it's alcohol. Like, I have a whole Reddit of people being like, the only way she channels is because she's drunk the entire time. I'm like,
Oh wow.
I'm like, thank you. I was like, well, I mean, I wish that would be the case. But no, when you're, I guess, so this is the way it feels for me. So because I shoot all my own content, I edit all my own content. I mean, I do everything, right? Essentially. And then I have a team behind me that helps me with all like my sessions and classes and stuff. But I don't know, session time is like sacred. And it is so cool that I get to wake up in the morning and I get to talk to dead people. It is like, it's great. And so I don't care if I am exhausted. The first, like, about to get in, as soon as I'm doing the start the Zoom meeting, maybe I have a really bad pain day. Like yesterday, I had a terrible migraine in the morning and I felt so fuzzy up until like 20 minutes before my session, and I was nauseous. I like put nausea medicine in me, and I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do that. Bing, get on there. 2 minutes later, gone. Absolutely all of it gone. And it's because when you're going through and you're channeling, it's the only time that I don't have pain, which is interesting for my chronic pain condition. It's the only time I don't have pain. And so after the session, am I exhausted? Yes, I'm down here. And then I go into my next one a minute and a half later, and it's the same up again. And then at the end of the day, people go, well, why do you go live at the end of the night? Well, it's because if I wasn't able to talk about it, then I would have too much on my mind and I wouldn't be able to go to sleep.
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
And do you get woken up by spirits?
I used to. Well, I mean, I do ever so often. Yeah, I usually get them. I've been woken up a couple of times, but I usually get messages as I'm falling asleep or right when I wake up. Like, what was this on Monday? I was laying in bed. I slept in a little bit later than I should have. And when I opened my eyes, I just recently bought this stained glass piece to go into one of my big windows that I have at the top of my bedroom. And I was laying there and I thought it was just of mountains, but it's not. It's of a sunset. And there was a man that hopped in my brain when I saw it. And he was like, talk about the sunset picture later. And I'm like, all right, interesting. Okay. So anyways, like, it was that quick. And so I wake up, I get up, I go in, I get my coffee, I come back, I sit down and like, go into my emails and stuff. And my first session of the day, there's a client, she lost her husband. I'm channeling. And I said, I think that this was your husband. I said, what is going on with the sunset picture? I said, it's like when somebody goes on like a cruise or somebody has like a wedding anniversary and she grabs her phone and she turns it around and she has this blown up picture of her and her husband on their 20th wedding anniversary on like the sunset of Jamaica in the background. And I'm like, oh, well, that's where it comes from. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
It
That's
must be so nice for you to like, because like you said, when you're talking to dead people, what you're doing is you're actually just giving so much comfort to those people that are still here, aren't you? And it just must be something so like special for you to be able to give that to people.
Yeah. It's my favorite thing. Well, it's really cool because, most people, they book an appointment with me and how do I say this? I'm kind of their last hope.
Yeah.
And I take that really, really seriously because they've either been to other people or they've never done it before, or maybe they've been doing grief counseling for 5 years, or maybe like they're so sad that they're thinking about taking their own life. Like, I literally have people said like, so I shouldn't take my life tonight. And I'm like, no, absolutely not. Like, it's gotten into that. But when you get to do that and you get to see somebody's eyes and heart just like come alive and like their fire comes back, that's like the best thing ever. And then before they go, I teach them a little bit on, not only how, like, as I channel, I like to explain to them how I got that, because they'll be like, where'd that come from? I'm like, well, you can do this too. This is how it shows up in my brain, so this is how it's probably going to show up in your head. So when you get this, please don't dismiss it. So you have a session, but you're also teaching at the same time, so that way they can be okay when you're not around.
Yeah, I love that, because people can get addicted to going to see mediums, can't they? And they give all their power away to them. And there's some people that are happy to take that. And yes, yeah. So I love that you help, like, you let people know you're capable of this too. You could do this as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's so
100%.
important. And I think, like, I know for me, when I lost my mum, which it's weirdly, it's the anniversary of her death today. We were just saying it was.
That's
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
I know,
Mhm.
because you had to reschedule, didn't you? And when you rescheduled,
Yeah.
I was like, I saw the date, I was like, oh, come on,
Yeah.
that's interesting, wasn't it? Yeah, like,
That
no
would be
surprises there.
why.
But, like,
Yeah.
as soon as I got to the point, like, everybody knows who's listening, they know my story, but as soon as I got to the point where I was willing to be open to the fact that she was still around in some kind of context, everything changed for me, and it was just the peace.
Yeah.
Obviously it kind of propelled me into doing the job that I'm doing now, and being on doing the podcast and all those things. But that aside, just that peace, knowing that she is still there, like, in some context, and I'm gonna be there as well when I'm done. Like, the whole fear of death is a huge thing, isn't it? I cannot
Yeah.
explain the peace that gives you.
Yes. Yeah. You go from being afraid and terrified and you feel like you're alone. And then now you're just like, well, okay. But it is weird when, you do this and you realize this, because you kind of also expect yourself to just be completely, or at least I do, like, uninvolved with the feeling of, like, oh my God, I'll miss them when they're gone. But, like, at the same time, ever so often I miss having lunch with my dad, right? Or I miss going, oh, let's go on a boat ride, right? Because I know he's on the fucking boat with me and making the boat happen at this point, but it would be really nice if you were sitting next to me at the same time too.
And you could actually touch him and, like, have a proper, like, easy conversation. Yeah, totally.
Yes.
I absolutely. It doesn't take away the grief of that. And, like, that is the perfect example. You get to talk to dead people all the time, and yet you still know, like, grief. We're humans, aren't we? Grief hits you. But I know. So I lost my mum in 2020, and then I lost my auntie 2 years later in 2022, and she was like my second mum. But
That's why.
because I had, like, done the work, like, I'd done all that stuff about opening up to that she was still there. Honestly, like, losing my auntie was still so painful. I still had all the human grief, but it was a completely different experience, because I was sat at her funeral laughing, because I was like, I know, and this is crazy. You would not like this, would you? Like, it was, and it was weird to me, because I'm like, everyone's crying, and inside I'm laughing, having a conversation with her.
Yes. Yes. Well, and you were actually having a conversation with her too. Like, the more I do this, the more I realize this is where it gets weird. Number one, everything happens for a reason. I mean, just know, like, everything. There's not a coincidence. I mean, from you taking an extra kiss at the door for your kid, like, everything happens for a reason. And then the more I study this, the more I realize that if you just give up control, that it goes better for you. You have to, because they'll lead you. And a lot of times not a lot of times, this is every time. The reason why you're thinking about your loved one is because they're making you think about them. So the reason why you brought your mom up is because she was like, oh, fucking bring me up at that point. Like, that's what happens. It's not the opposite way around. Our awareness kicks in after they give you information. And, like, the other day I was in an insane asylum up in Connecticut, which is up in, like, the northeastern United States, and I was walking around. It was my the host she was hosting me, and I was doing an investigation of her house built in, like, 1790. For y'all, that doesn't seem old. Over here in the United States, that's crazy old in my area. Okay. And so, or 1763, which is before the United States got its, like, so it's when the British were here. Ha! But anyways, when no, it's okay. I love it. But they took me to this insane asylum during the day, and because I usually go to these places by myself or with one other investigator, and we're really quiet. And we sit down and we focus. And so I'm walking around with her husband, my husband. They're blah 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 blah. And so, as what I do, I'm just thinking in my head, like, please just shut the fuck up. Oh my God, I can't even feel while I'm here because it's so loud, but it's okay. And so, as we're walking into this one point of this area, I bend down, and I have it recorded on my phone. I bend down to go pick up this piece of tile from this insane asylum to put it as, like, a memory. It's just this tiny little 1 by 1 inch square. And I go to pick it up, and I'm like, this is going to be a memory. And as I'm walking, I go, and I walk through the door. Mind you, it's broad daylight. There's no windows. Like, we're in the middle of nowhere. And then I'm like, I don't know why I just said shh. Who made me say shh? And right before I did that, a voice that I caught goes, I have it caught on here. And then afterwards, I'm like, why did I say that? And it's because they got in my head. They told them to shut up because in asylums, they would make everybody be quiet as to not freak anybody out. And anyways, that was a really cool catch.
Oh my God, that's
Wow.
so cool.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like when you go to places like that, obviously that have got heavy energy, like stuff's,
Yeah.
you know, not a nice stuff's been going on there. Like, this is really interesting, isn't it? Because I know, like, a lot of when I had to dive into this world, we had to get rid of a lot of fear, right? Because I had a lot of experiences as a kid where I didn't see very nice things, and because I was scared of it, I shut it off and didn't want to, like. But then what I did is I worked through the fear, did all the stuff like you mentioned earlier about you think you need protection, you're gonna call stuff in. When as soon as I realized, like, I'm good, you can't, like, as long as I know I'm good and I don't need protection, that's enough. And all my horrible experiences stopped. And even if, like, I felt certain, like, not very nice stuff come in straight away, I was like, fuck off, you can't be here, get out of my bedroom, get out of my energy.
Yes.
See, and gone, like that.
Yes.
Gone.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So going back to the dark stuff of protection. Thank you. I call it my squirrel brain. I'll be talking to this is why it's so hard. Like when I go out in public, especially if I go by myself and like, let's say I'm going to like a restaurant or a customer service place or whatever it is, and I'm talking to the sales associate, I probably seem really awkward now because I can't look you in the eyes when I'm talking to you normally. Otherwise, that starts connecting. And so if you're just trying to go out and buy a thing of makeup because you look like shit and you're in your pajamas, like you don't want to sit there and be like, so I'm just like, they're like, how are you? I'm like, I'm good. I'm great. You know, that's very hard. I know, like, what was it? I know we were going into the dark stuff, but to finish this up, I have a hair appointment tomorrow to go get my sides reshaved and like designs and all that jazz. And the first time, this was 4 haircuts ago, I found this really cool barber. He's this Hispanic guy in the area that I live in, and his name is Izzy or Isaac, but we call him Izzy. And I went in there and I asked to get my hair cut, and he's sitting there cutting my hair. And with like the noise of the razor going on and it's warm and I'm just sitting there holding still and my brain is like, holy fuck, stop it, because it's that same sound. That's that tuning. And so I'm sitting there and somebody's like, all the July birthdays. Yeah, he's having a baby in July. It'll be a girl though.
Oh my God.
Talk to him about it. And I'm like, he doesn't even know what I do. And he's still going. And it's like, baby in July. Dad's, that's what it sounds like. Dad's birthday. Oh, he's a Leo though. And I'm like, which is now this isn't feeling. So the words that I'm getting are in a feeling, and then you translate into words. And so as I'm sitting there, he was asking me, as I started thinking this, the barber asked me, so what do you do? That's a loaded question. I'm like, oh, I do social media because I'm in a really tiny East Texas town, which is very like there's like 90 churches on every corner, and you're going to go to hell if you believe in any of this. OK, that's what ends up happening over here. Exactly in that voice. But as he's doing that, and he was like, well, what do you do on social media? So I have a choice to pull the cord because my face is everywhere, or do I just say something like counseling? And you know what? I'm like, you know what? I talk to dead people. And he's like, what? And I'm like, I said, do you mind if I ask you a question? And he's like, what? And I go, are you having a kid? Like, are you having a kid? And he steps back. He's like, what do you know about that? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm asking you. He says, my wife last night took a pregnancy test and it came out positive. He says, nobody knows that except for me and her. And him and his mom and brother own the shop together. He's like, I haven't even told my mom. And I was like, well, I think it's going to be a girl. And he's like, what? I said, so who's all the July birthdays? He goes, me, my dad, my sister, my cousin. And I was like, okay, but your dad's like end of July. And he's like July 29th, which is a Leo, which is what they were talking about. And I was like, this is interesting. They keep talking about how your daughter's birthday is going to be like right around there. And so we do the math and it's like the very end of June, first week of July. And yeah, so it was weird. Yeah.
I love
So
that.
you can't go anywhere really, can you?
No,
Without no.
no. And it's really hard to shut it off. But I also know now that the reason why I sit with certain people or I meet certain people is to talk to them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you also just have to choose your battles. And going back into the darkness thing, I mean, like I said, there's darkness everywhere. It exists. It exists in you. It exists in me. The goodest
Yeah.
people can also be the worst people at the same time. We just have to balance it. And like you said, if you go in there and you just tell it to fuck off, that's the feeling of it. That's what you're
Mhm.
doing.
Yeah.
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 And then it will try to come in sometimes. And I've noticed, like, in that insane asylum, or I've noticed in my bathroom, because that's where I do a lot of interesting investigations. We'll talk about that later and why. But when I sit in there, there's there have been times where a spirit or a thing of some sort will show up and my body, not my mind, but my body will begin to react in the feeling of fear. My
Mhm.
mind is not fearful, but I can feel the, oh God, we got to get out of here type of feeling. And my mind is like, chill, 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 chill. And I know that that's a lower spirit. Sure enough, I leave my devices on and it starts going off and the room gets really thick. It feels really heavy. And then I start investigating more. And it's usually a spirit of somebody that, murdered somebody or took their own life, or maybe it's something that's attached to my land at that point. I don't know. But you just tell it to go away or move away. But there was this one time, this is recently, this is about 4 months ago. I was in my bathroom and I was sitting there doing an investigation. And there was this guy that he got really mad. And well, his mom wanted to see if her son was still around. And so I started calling him in. His name is Dwayne. I started calling him in and he made my body feel fear. And I couldn't figure out why. And then he ended up talking about shooting. He ended up talking about dying. He ended up talking about how he murdered somebody and he was in a drive-by shootout with 2 separate gangs that went by and he ended up killing 2 people and somebody shot him in the head. And so he's essentially a little bit darker. He's a little bit heavier, and he was dealing with all that. And he was making me feel the fear of those moments. Yeah.
Wow.
But is he evil? No. He just did some stupid shit and he got
Yeah.
clocked for it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So he
Yeah.
learned. Yeah.
Mm.
I love how you just explained that your body feels the fear, but your mind is cool, because that's exactly like that just perfectly explains
Yeah.
how, like, I feel like I can picture it now. Like in my bedroom, it's always when I'm asleep in the middle of the night, and that's so true. Like I recognize the fear in my body, but my head's going no, this is just, you can't do this, go away. And I think that's really important for loads of people to hear that, because I bet loads of people have these kind of experiences, don't they, where they're like become aware of certain things, but they don't know like what it is and they don't know what to do, and it's terrifying. Like, I remember before this, I would lay up all night with like
Yeah,
every
me
single
too.
limb in my like duvet,
Mhm.
boiling hot, sweating. Like my
Yes.
eyes just like,
Yes.
oh my God, all night.
Yes.
And I feel so sorry for that past self of mine now, but like I had to face the fear to be able to get
Correct.
through it.
There you go. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
1,000%. I'm very
Yeah.
proud of you. And
Thank you.
God, hang on. Hold on. Why is that? Oh, hold on. Are you talking about that? Somebody just said Mary Magdalene. I don't think anybody's named Mary. Unless, do we know anybody like that?
We talk about Mary Magdalene a
Yeah.
lot, don't
Oh,
we?
do you really?
We mentioned her the other day, actually, didn't we?
Really?
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, somebody, I was like, random. They like her. It's a woman.
We like her,
And
yeah.
yeah, hold on. That could be 2 signs for me. I'm like, all right, we're talking about that, or we're talking about somebody named Mary. Hang on. Stitch in my side, I propose. What do you mean by that? Hang on. Laughing. Hang on. Where? Hold on. Somebody's talking about my friend getting her boobs done. That's interesting. Hold on. Because she just had that yesterday, but that's Lauren. There's no Lauren connected to y'all at Will. Or Laura. Yeah, okay. Keep it there. Yeah, keep that there. Hold on. And there's no breast cancer. Hang on. Hold on. How do you say that? Hang on. They're talking about with what does that mean? For some reason, Tosh, I think this is for Tosh. I mean, they look great. There's nothing bad.
We're talking about my boobs here.
Yeah. Have you been wearing are you wearing, this is so random, are you wearing like underwires now as well instead of just soft? Like it's a real.
Yeah, it has got an
I
underwire
have
in.
noticed you going like this a lot today.
Have I?
Mm.
Oh, I'm wearing the same type of bras.
Yeah,
I
you
usually
have
wear.
that. I know. Hold on. There's something, and for at first there's because your mom had smaller boobs than you. She had bigger ones. That's why. Okay, thank you. She's talking. Okay, so my friend Lauren went in today. She's Lauren the mortician. She got her breasts lifted and reduced. And she somehow, and that happened today, and she somehow, your mother is comparing, because I got off the phone with her right before we did this, that her and you, and since I only wear a B, I'm not in that cool kids club. And so she's joking. And she says, I guess it's a thing. And then she's talking about back pain, and she's talking about how you don't have crazy back pain from them. And she's talking about you sitting down, and she's talking about how, where? Hold on. Hang on. So do you try to just eat twice a day? Is that all you do? With
No,
snacks?
I'm trying to eat better.
Better.
Not,
okay.
Yeah, I am trying
Okay.
to eat. I'm definitely trying to eat better. Yeah, not twice a day.
You're okay. For me, that's better. So over here,
Yeah.
everybody's like, we have to have 3 times a day. And I'm like, nobody's doing actual outdoor labor. Everybody needs to eat twice a day. It's okay.
Oh,
Because that's what it's for.
Okay, that's so funny because we had a podcast guest on last week who was talking about we shouldn't eat just 3 meals a day. I actually said, because they tell us we're supposed to eat 3 meals a day, but are we supposed to? And it stuck because she was like, no, intuitive eating. And it stuck with me. And I was like, yeah, I don't have to eat 3 meals a day. I can just eat 2 meals a day. Yeah.
Literally, you said those words. Oh my God.
Okay, so I'd have to say that because they went through and they showed a carrot stick with you. They showed you eat it. They said 2 meals, and they said, oh, and then they showed me a carrot stick again. So that for me means snacks, either healthy eating or how we need to do that. So I'd have to say your mother is agreeing, even though you look great. There's nothing wrong with that. Or she was also here for that podcast, right? And
Yeah.
Hang on. And Tootie what? That's Tutti Frutti. Hold on. Give me a second. They showed me TUTTI, which now I'm trying to figure out what that means. Hold on. And so you can't stand snakes, lizards, and frogs or anything like that. That's not your thing at all.
I don't mind. I'm not scared of them. No.
Okay, because they go like this. They had you jump for some reason. I have no idea why. It's not a fear thing. I'm like, maybe she can't stand them. Hold on. Let's figure out what that means. Hang on. But you don't have a big garden, right? You don't have a big
No.
garden? Yeah. Okay, gotcha. I said, did she have snakes in the back? Are there frogs or what? She goes, she didn't have a big garden. There's not even one. What are you talking about? I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, so essentially I'm like, well, where do we see these things? That's what I'm asking. And I'm just going to tell you this random thing. Hey, God. So is your main window facing a road, a main street?
We have a couple of our windows are facing a road, a main road.
Main street. Okay. See, it's so different over here because everybody has yards, and so they have that buffer, and they keep showing me an image of I'm not saying it's apartment, but an apartment that has because that's where we usually see them, apartments facing with windows and main streets. And hang on. for some reason, hang on. Somebody's talking about being cute as a button. Hang
Oh,
on.
this
Hang
button.
on.
That's funny
Give me a
because when she
second.
said Tootie, you say Cutie Mc. That's all I could think of,
Uh,
Cutie McTootie.
Cute. You say cutesy McTootie?
She says, do you say that? Would
Cute,
you?
cutie,
What,
cutie patootie, cutie
Cutie
patootie.
Patootie.
she
Okay,
says.
see, we don't say that over here, so that may be a part of it. So
Yeah.
they're trying to say the tootie part. They're trying to bring that out of my brain, and they're trying to bring like cute as a button. So they're trying to like morph that together. And then Tasha, you have a partner right now? Yeah. Okay. So they're also implying that this person is also as cute as a button, even though they're getting
Aw, I
older,
do
but
say you're
they're
so
good.
cute.
Yeah, they're very happy about that. No, they very much love you. There's a lot of things going on right now. There's like, it's weird when I channel people in the UK as well because everything is haunted as shit in your area. So there are times where like I'm reading somebody and I'm like, weird. I'm like, was there like a man that made olive oil or something? They're like, oh, no. I just live in a home that's 800 years old. And I'm like, like my brain, or it's mead, and my brain doesn't even know what to do with that. I'm like, I have no idea. No, so your mom, your family, I mean, both your families would be here, but apparently they're just doing a check-in.
On my boobs,
On your
and my
boobs,
food.
yeah.
On your that boobs, food, just making sure you're healthy. Your mom's trying to give me like little delineating factors that are funny that just say like, this is what I look like, this is what was here.
Oh.
And no big trips planned or anything before the end of the year though at this point, correct?
Not before the end of the year, no.
Yeah, good. Okay. Talking about you and your husband going on holiday, or you and your partner going on holiday, which is interesting. That's why I was like, oh, holiday. I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
Christmas,
because
and
you
they're like,
don't
no,
say
no,
that.
no.
You say
Yeah,
vacation,
vacation.
don't you?
Yeah, oh, we say vacation, or we say we're gonna go on a trip. That's what we say over here.
Yeah.
And so are you planning on doing that in like February, March?
March. We're going
March.
to
Oh,
Thailand, yeah.
cool. Oh yeah, they like it. They're very excited about that. They showed me spring, and spring in Texas is like February, March over here.
Yeah.
But it's so hot, and they're gonna go with you, and they're very excited about it. There you go.
Oh, thank you.
Cool.
I'm very excited to.
You're
I've been wanting to go
welcome.
for so long, so.
Good. Well, y'all tell me what we need to go through because I also have a session that I have to get to in about 20 minutes. But let me know what else we
Okay.
want to go on.
All right, then. So, because thank you so much. Like, this has just been
You're
such
welcome.
a
I love you.
No,
it's been amazing.
Thank you. We love you so much.
I love you too.
So I suppose then, just so to round it up,
Yeah.
I guess, with everything you know, all the people, the dead people you speak to, all the things you've kind of uncovered with your deep contemplating, with your like curious mind,
Yeah.
what do you want? What's like the biggest core message you want people to know? Like, what do you want them to know? What do you want to take from this?
Do you want me to do the weird constructive one or like the logical one? Maybe we'll do both. Number one, we're all just people doing people things. It doesn't matter where you're at, what position you're in. I have read members of government, parliament, celebrities, I mean, all the way across, scientists, people, like everything. And at the end of the day, we're all just fucking people wearing costumes, having different hats. That's all it is. You're the same soul, you're the same consciousness. And so that's very humbling. And so that's why when people are like, oh, when you read a celebrity, are you impressed? I'm like, actually, it's kind of really fucking annoying because when you first start channeling them, they have two different personas. They have the ego, which is the one that everybody sees because they're protecting the inside because they don't want it to be seen by anybody because everybody's been up in their grits for so long. And so that's interesting when people ask me about that. But the biggest takeaway would be that, people go, what's the meaning of life? It's to live. The second thing is people go, well, if God or source or everything is so good, why did they let babies die? Because that's what was supposed to happen at that moment. There's no evil or intention behind it. There's a lesson that comes from it that may not appear right now in the moment, but will appear later on in the fabric of everything because everything is moving. And so that one death can be the kickoff for something else absolutely amazing. And also that your loved ones are just there 24/7 watching you through everything, including you having sex. So do it well. Okay.
that one in
Yeah.
for her.
Yes, that's it. That's all of it. That's the whole takeaway. And they don't care. It's like, have you ever seen a dog doing it? We're just like, oh God, oh God. That's kind of how they feel. They're like, oh God, oh God. You
Oh, I
know.
feel
So
bad
yeah.
for them.
I know.
Yeah, the heads up. Hey, guys.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
man.
every single time. Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you all across the pond.
Amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. You're welcome. Okay, y'all. I love you. I love you. And I want you to go have a good day. Love
Thanks,
you.
Amy.
Bye, y'all.